In today's episode, we're talking about navigating the crypto markets and taking a leaf out of Warren Buffett's book. We're going to see exactly what he's been doing over the last quarter and the changes made to his portfolio. Very interesting stuff. If you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out the pinned comment down below for today's video sponsor. Today's video sponsor is Cryptocom. I utilize this app almost every day. I use it as my fiat off and on ramp. You can simply purchase with a debit or credit card, or even better, complete a bank transfer for absolutely free. You can also use their in-app staking service, the Earn feature, to earn a passive income on your cryptocurrency. And make sure you check out their Visa debit card. I utilize this for 2% cash back on my purchases, and I also get a full rebate on my Spotify subscription. You can sign up via the link down below in the pinned comment and utilize my referral code cryptotube, all one word, for a nice bonus. So here we have the Bitcoin chart. We're sat at around $42,000 right now. That is the price of this moment. But of course, what we're doing here is actually zooming out a bit and looking at the weekly time frame to navigate these specific levels on the chart that I've mapped out here. Because on a day-to-day basis, you can get shaken out of positions. You go through the fear and greed emotions all the time. For example, yesterday, Super Farm pumping up to over $1.20. A few days earlier, it was down to like 75 cents. And then today, sub $1 once more. Fear, greed, fear once more. Just an example of those kind of feelings and emotions that we get. But if we look at a weekly time frame here on Bitcoin, you can see there's some clear levels. Not just because I've mapped them out, but there's some real confluence, some points of strong support and resistances in the chart. So as we know, over the last 12 months plus, we've pretty much chopped in a range from 30K up to 60K. So this could be a large macro accumulation period before we have our next major move up and out of this zone. So whilst we're in this period, it's important to know exactly where the levels are and how we can react around them. So currently we bounced off the $35,000 region, wicks below to around 32, 33,000 at the Pico bottom there. But as you can see, we've bounced all the way back up to the mid-range here at around 45,000 bucks. And we wicked into this nicely a few weeks back. Now we find ourselves in a bit of a holding pattern around the low 40K region. And we're going to start to make some attempts into this 45K region again, I would expect, as it does look like we have some seller exhaustion and also some nice momentum over the past few weeks. So what we can do with this information is actually make a bit of a plan. Where do we want to maybe trim some positions into the resistances? And where do we want to take up newer positions while maybe in some regions of support? Maybe down here, maybe the mid 35K region. If we just look across the chart here, there's a bit of confluence that we might see a bit of a higher low printed in this region at some point. But what I've been taking a look at is just having these kind of areas mapped out and a mental model around where I'm going to trim positions, where I'm going to accumulate more of specific assets that I want to hold for the long run, and just targeting what I can do in each of these situations. I've seen a lot of people get very bullish as we've headed into resistance, which is pretty typical of retail trade. We get enticed to buy when things are going up and sell when things are going down, i.e. those fear and greed emotions get the best of us. So by making some notes around what I'm going to do at these specific regions helps me to navigate this crypto market more effectively. If we get a break above 45, 46K region, and we can then hold that as support on a weekly time frame, this would get me very bullish for a continued move higher into the mid to higher 50K region there. But a rejection from this kind of region, the mid 40s, would see us potentially move quite a bit lower to the mid 30s or even towards the range lows here, at which point I will be looking to load up on some more coins with my cash position. So I think in times like this right now, where things are very choppy, a lot of uncertainty in the market with the various news stories and geopolitical situations happening, it's good to have these mental models already mapped out and some moves pre-programmed that you want to take once we hit specific regions. So I'm hoping this might be a little bit helpful and that you can start pre-planning what you want to do rather than being swept up in the emotion of things. Currently, we're sat at a neutral rating on Fear and Greed Index. I think this might move towards fearful over the next few days, as we're seeing a bit of an escalation in the media narrative around the Ukraine and Russia potential war. But let's update on this first major news story here, which is of course the Canadian convoy of truckers And we know that they started to ban and freeze bank accounts of those involved with this convoy. And now they've taken things even further. So those protesting were being funded via cryptocurrency as an alternative to using fiat bank deposits. But now the government over there, who seem to be drunk on power, have now decided to start banning the crypto wallets tied to the Freedom Convoy. So they've managed to track down roughly 34 crypto wallets, including the likes of Bitcoin, ETH, Litecoin, Monero, and Cardano addresses, and they've kind of blacklisted them. So any regulated financial firms are to cease facilitating any transaction from these 34 crypto wallets, i.e. the police have told the banks, you can't let these guys cash out into Canadian dollars. So whether or not you believe that the truckers are actually in the right or wrong, that's not really relevant to this whole situation. This is a case of an authoritarian government taking power into their own hands to prevent their citizens from spending money. This is rather concerning to see and not something you would expect from a first world country. And there's an excellent meme being posted here. Trudeau here looking rather smug in his press conferences, and then President Xi from China phoning up Vladimir Putin to say, bro, you seeing this? Vladimir responding, and they call us the dictators, and then further, hold on a minute, I've got another one on the line. And then it's the North Korean President Kim Jong-un on the line saying, bro. So a good bit of lighthearted humor here, but this is a rather serious situation and rather sad to see in the world right now. Some strange times that we are living through. And this adds all to the uncertainty around politics, the amount of powers that governments have managed to gain over the last 12, 18 months, or even 2 years during this pandemic period, and how we're actually going to get out of all of this mess. So from bad leadership to potentially good leadership, or at least I would say someone standing up for their own rights here. So this was posted by the US Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. So these senators here, Jim Risch, Bob Mendez, and Bill Cassidy here have introduced the Accountability for Cryptocurrency in El Salvador's Act. Essentially, these guys are asking for more legislation around El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender. So just some small snippets here. El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender raises significant concerns about the economic stability and financial integrity of a vulnerable US trading partner in Central America. And this new policy has the potential to weaken US sanction policy. So what this is telling me is that they're worried that if they come off the US dollar standard and move to a crypto standard, the US then doesn't have the power to impose all the sanctions they want to if El Salvador steps out of line, which is what they're doing right now. And they frame this to try and make it seem as though they're not the biggest cartel going. So it says El Salvador recognizing Bitcoin as an official currency opens the door for money laundering cartels and undermines US interests. But to me, this is just them pissed off that a smaller nation is going to potentially steer away from USD and the power that that has over them and move to their own unit of account. So Nayib Bukele with an absolutely epic response here. Okay, boomers, you have zero jurisdiction on a sovereign and independent nation. We are not your colony, not your backyard or your front yard. Stay out of our internal affairs. So a rather interesting response to what would potentially be something that many nations would be very scared of, the US sanctions. He's pretty much given them the two fingers there. A few people have actually commented on things saying, look, he's actually in danger of his life at this moment in time. I don't think that's correct. He is such a public figure right now. An assassination attempt would seem highly unlikely in my opinion, but he definitely does not care at this moment in time, which is good to see, really standing up to the man. Then yesterday we had the Fed minutes coming out from January. This was a bit of a nothing burger in my opinion. If we actually go to the 4 hourly or hourly charts here, let me just pull up hourly chart from yesterday. This was around the time that the minutes were released and we had a bit of dump into the action, and then when they were released, a pump back out. So this was just the market making taking full advantage of potential fears and then some of the greed in the market, people trying to go short here, and then they just spiking the price back up. So a real nothing burger in terms of the minutes yesterday. And because those minutes came from January, they're just being released, and we've already had additional CPI data from February. The whole story has actually evolved beyond what these minutes actually noted down. So this is a bit of a nothing burger in my opinion as a news story right now. But what are the biggest investors in the world doing right now? Let's have a little look at Warren Buffett here. So he's actually invested $1 billion in a Bitcoin friendly neobank, and he dumps both Visa and MasterCard stocks. So this is quite an interesting move. He's famously called Bitcoin rat poison, and you can actually see a quote from Charlie Munger here on the right hand side. He's got an article going around doing the rounds, calling crypto a venereal disease and should be banned. So these guys clearly really dislike cryptocurrency, or maybe just don't understand it, which is fair enough. They are in their 90s. But essentially what Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway has done is start to move into some crypto-friendly acquisitions. So they'd already bought around $500 million worth of stock from this neobank, which is called Nubank. That was back in June, July of last year, and they've increased this holding up to around a further $1 billion as of Q4 of 2021, dumping both MasterCard and Visa stocks in what would be a change up in the portfolio here. So really interesting to see a lot of investment in this kind of Latin American region. So clearly what Buffett's seeing here is an opportunity to sell off two incumbent stocks in the form of Visa and MasterCard. He's probably squeezed enough juice out of those for this time being, and then looked for a newer upcoming region of the world and fintech bank that is trying to be supportive of the new payments rails that are going to be used. So as we know, Latin America, due to high rates of inflation, we're talking even triple digits inflation, a lot of their citizens are going to have to move to crypto standards, whether that be US dollar, Tether, US dollar Circle, so dollar pegged cryptocurrencies, or whether that's going to be Bitcoin. It seems pretty obvious that they're going to have to adopt these rather sharpish. And we're seeing from stats around the globe that is happening. The adoption of crypto in these countries is massive. And of course, Buffett wants a slice of that pie. So although he may be opposed to cryptocurrencies, he's definitely not opposed to making money and owning infrastructure that will facilitate the transfer of crypto in these high growth areas. So pretty interesting to watch what the elites here and the best traders in the world are doing. So it's estimated that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway here has a cash position of around $149 billion as of the third quarter of 2021. So these are the most updated stats that I could find. So that $1 billion investment looking like pretty much chump change to this guy. However, it says he's got roughly between 13 to 28% of his portfolio sat in cash right now. So as we know, last year seemed very much parabolic growth, a lot of top signals in markets in both equities and in the cryptocurrency industry. And you've got big investors like this continually increasing cash positions, waiting for something to happen. And we can kind of see now on the horizon with all of the uncertainty in the markets hate uncertainty, the Ukrainian-Russian situation, there's a lot of potential black swan events that could occur at any moment. We're really sat in a position of a rock and a hard place, because if things do escalate, then it's highly likely financial markets take a big dump. And with the Fed handling of the current inflation rates, talking up the prospects of bumping interest rates massively up and taking away the backstop of liquidity, well, we could be setting up for a big recession potentially here. So a lot of macro situations right now that are highly, highly uncertain. So as we can see, Warren Buffett has a huge cash position. So I think taking a leaf out of this guy's book and having a rather large cash position like this, maybe around a quarter of your portfolio, even more, I would suggest, is probably a sensible thing to do right now, to have that optionality that if any of these situations, and we can probably count quite a few that could cause a big drop in asset prices, well, if this does happen, you are able to scoop up some of the blood left on the streets. Then next up, we have this SEC scrutinizing Binance exchange here. So within this article, Gary Gensler is asking for basic investor protections in the crypto space. So this after two trading firms, Sigma Chain AG and Merit Peak, who are market makers over on Binance's US exchange, well, these guys are now being investigated by the SEC. So Gary Gensler is clearly not happy that these guys have been working with the best of intentions, and it wasn't disclosed that these guys were trading on Binance US to the customers of Binance US. So it seems like he's got his little black book out once again and is taking some names in the form of Mr. Changpeng Zhao, CZ of Binance. And so asking for more basic investor protections in crypto, i.e. Gary's gonna get you. But Mr. Gensler, as an epic post here from Kobe says, investors require more protections in crypto, Gary. Just take a little look at the stock market. So Kobe posting this, Robinhood, as you can see, worse than most altcoins. We have PayPal here taking an absolute nosedive. We have Peloton, exactly the same stuff, retracing all the gains back from March of 2020, and Meta, i.e. Facebook, taking a huge nosedive as well. So apparently they're supposed to be protecting investors, but they haven't even done that in the equities market, with huge participation numbers of retail folk in equities getting absolutely slammed over this last quarter. So even in these turbulent times where we're not really sure what the heck is going to happen next from day to day, would you rather be navigating the equities market or the crypto market? That is the question being posed here by Mr. Messiah. You've got two options. Would you rather own a stock that's 90% down, but a real company in quotes, or be a crypto that is 90% down, but with massive protocol-owned liquidity, a treasury conducting buybacks and reverse bonds? And as you can see, 16% went for stocks and 83% went for crypto. Kobe's response here, laugh my ass off. Imagine owning stocks, 100% pre-mined for the team and seed, absolute scam. And when you put it in those kind of terms, you understand how the stock market is designed to screw the retail participants. And why would you actually own stocks if you don't actually get anything out of them? You have to buy them low to sell them high. There is zero value accrual, but you can get actual value accrual in the crypto markets. So these, for me, are the markets I want to learn to navigate and understand how to progress in them for the long run, as over time what we're going to see is a shift from people utilizing the stock markets as their nest egg, and the next generation of us are going to be crypto only natives. A lot of people I know only invest in cryptocurrencies. They have no interest in the equities market whatsoever. So this is the chasm that will be crossed. The boomers will retire, move on, and the younger generations will come forward, and it will be a crypto party. So now's a good time to be studying up on those revenue sharing protocols where we can make money in these markets, utilizing stable coins to achieve good yields, and taking a piece out of Warren Buffett's book, buying up cash flow and sitting on optionality, i.e. a cash position to buy up major dips. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, drop me a comment down below. Love to hear from you guys. See you in the next one. Goodbye.